Hello viewers and welcome back to Rajput Jain and Associate. Today we would be discussing about the GST Annual Return, which a GST registered person is required to file every year. So starting with the GSTR-9 return. It is an annual return that is required to be filed yearly by the GST registered taxpayers. Now this GSTR-9 contains the details regarding the outward and inward supplies that are made or received during a particular financial year. Next is the GSTR-9C return. GSTR-9C is a reconciliation statement that a GST registered person shall file annually. Now, the registered persons whose aggregate turnover does not exceed Rs 5 crores in a particular financial year can file the GSTR-9C return optionally. So this GSTR-9C is basically a reconciliation statement between the filed annual return and the audited annual financial statement of the taxpayer. Now there could be instances where the registered person must not have accounted for correct sales or purchase during the financial year, and at the time of preparation of financial accounts, the figures might not match. Thus, in such situations, GSTR-9C plays an important role and helps in reconciliation of data of GSTR returns with that of the financial statements. Next, we come on to the persons who are required to file GST Annual Return. So, as per Section 44 of CGST Act 2017, all taxpayers registered under GST Act are required to file their annual return every year. However, there are certain specified categories of persons who are not required to file an annual return. So these include, first one is casual taxable person. Then comes the input service distributors. Next are the non-resident taxable persons. And lastly, the persons that are paying tax under Section 51, that is for the payment of TDS, and Section 52, that is for the payment of TCS under the CGST Act. Now, having discussed in brief about the GST annual return, we now come on to the due date for filing the GST annual return. So generally, the due date for the filing of GST annual return is 31st December, that comes after the end of the respective financial year for which the annual return is required to be filed. Say for example, for the financial year 2020-21, the due date for filing GSTR-9 would be 31st of December 2021. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, there have been certain due date extension for filing GST annual return for the year 2020-21. However, the same is not expected for the financial year 2021-22 onwards. Now coming to the last part of our video, we now come on to some of the frequently asked questions on GST annual return. First is there any offline tool for filing Form GSTR-9? So in answer to this, we can say yes. The annual return GSTR-9 can be filed through offline tool as well. Then, by what time the annual return GSTR-9 is required to be filed? So the due date for filing Form GSTR-9 for a particular financial year is 31st December of the subsequent financial year. However, one thing to note is that the same can be extended by the government on time to time. Next is, can the date of filing of GSTR-9 be extended? So during the COVID-19 pandemic, it is observed that the Government of India decided to extend the due date of filing Form GSTR-9. Thus, the Government of India has the power to extend the due date of filing from GSTR-9 via a notification. Then, does the Form GSTR-9 require filing at entity level or at GSTIN level? So please note that the Form GSTR-9 return is required to be filed at GSTIN level, that is, it is required to be filed for each registration. Now, in cases where the taxpayer has obtained multiple GST registrations under the same PAN, the same will be required to file annual return for each of such registrations separately. Next is, what is the difference between Form GSTR-9 and Form GSTR-9C? So the Form GSTR-9 is required to be filed by every person registered as normal taxpayer. However, certain class of taxpayers may be exempted from filing GSTR-9 by way of notification issued on the Government of India from time to time. On the other hand, Form GSTR-9C is required to be filed by every registered person whose aggregate turnover is above a certain threshold limit during the financial year, which is notified by way of notification by Government of India from time to time. Such taxpayers are required to get their accounts audited by Chartered Accountant or a cost accountant and need to submit a copy of audited annual accounts and reconciliation statement. The next question is, for a regular or a normal taxpayer for part period and composition taxpayer for part period during the financial year, do I need to file Form GSTR-9 or Form GSTR-9A? So in such a case, please note that you would be required to file both GSTR-9 and GSTR-9A for the respective periods of registration. The period during which the taxpayer remained as composition taxpayer, Form GSTR-9A is required to be filed, and for the period for which the taxpayer is registered as a normal taxpayer, Form GSTR-9 is required to be filed. Next is, can we enter negative amount in Form GSTR-9? So in answer to this, we can say yes. One can enter negative amount in Form GSTR-9 as well. Then, what is the late fee for delay in filing annual return? So as per section 47 subsection 2 of the CGST Act 2017, the late fees for not filing the annual return within the due date is provided as ₹100 per day. However, the delay in filing GSTR-9C may attract a general penalty under section 125 of the CGST Act, and the same shall be extended to ₹50,000. Next is there any late fees for late filing of Form GSTR-9? So yes, there is a late fee for filing of Form GSTR-9 beyond the due date, and the same is provided under the CGST Act. Then comes, can input tax credit that was wrongly claimed in GSTR-3B be rectified now in GSTR-9? So please note that the excess claimed credit in GSTR-3B can be reversed by the reporting such amount in Table 4 Subtable B of GSTR-3B of the subsequent month. This detail can also be disclosed by the registered person in Part 5.12 of the GSTR-9 as well. Now lastly, what happens if the supplier files GSTR-1 after the filing of GSTR-9 by the recipient? So where the recipient files GSTR-9 before the filing of GSTR-1 by the supplier, the details of such invoices will be reflected for the supplier in GSTR-1A, and the supplier should accept such invoices when he files his monthly return. Only after acceptance of such invoice, a recipient taxpayer would be eligible to claim the ITC on the same. So this was all about GST annual return. For more information, contact Rajput, Jain and Associates. Thank you.